Hi, my name's John Petty, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Growing Up in Flip-Flops. This episode is entitled, That's Silliness. One day when I was either in 4th or 5th grade, I didn't feel well while at school and told the teacher that I didn't feel well. She sent me down to the school nurse. At that time, folks, there was a school nurse. Yes, a woman dressed in white with a nurse's cap that had her own little office with a cot in her office. Well, I was sent down to the nurse's office and she checked me out and she felt that I was genuinely sick and she called my mother, told my mother to come pick me up and that I needed to be taken to the doctor. It wasn't an emergency, but that I did need to see the doctor. My mother came dutifully and picked me up, took me to our pediatrician. The pediatrician examined me, diagnosed me with mumps, and told my mother that I needed to stay home for approximately a week to get over these mumps. So we headed home. When we got to the house, we were met by a woman that my mother had hired as a maid, Fanny. Fanny, along with her husband, Saul. Saul worked outside, doing yard work, taking care of everything outside, because, again, my mother was a widow with 2 small children, and she was running rental properties at her house. She needed help. She hired Fanny and Saul. Anyway, Fanny, upon seeing me, asked what was the matter. And my mother said, well, John's got the mumps and he's going to be out of school for a week. Fanny's response to that was, that's silliness. My mother said, well, that's what the doctor said. And again, Fanny's response was, that's silliness. Do you have any sardines in the house? Well, we did, because I happened to really like sardines at that period in my life. Fanny then gave directions to my mother to go get the can of sardines, get me into my pajamas, and only my pajama bottoms, to leave my chest exposed. Fanny then went to my bedroom, propped up pillows so that I could sit up, but then she went to the linen closet and pulled out several towels. She then took to spreading out the towels and spread them across the bed, just making a giant blanket of towels on my bed in my bedroom. By this time, I was in my pajama bottoms with a bare chest. Fanny directed me to get into my bed, sit up with the pillows bracing my back. She then pulled a chair beside the bed. She had the can of sardines beside the bed on a table with a fork. She then proceeded, open the can of sardines, put the lid away, take the can of sardines in her hand with a fork, and she proceeded to feed me the sardines while I was seated in bed. Eat up every bit of the entire can of sardines. This was, holy cow, I was happy with this. I really like sardines, so boy, getting a whole can to myself, but ate up every bit of it. It didn't matter if some of the sardine oil from the can, while she was taking it from the can to my mouth with a fork, if it dripped on my chest. Well, soon enough, I finished the entire can of sardines. She put down the fork and then told me to just hold still, and she tipped the can of sardine, now empty, so that all the oil poured out onto my chest. With her 2 hands, she then proceeded to massage the sardine oil that had been poured onto my chest around my neck and on my chest, just getting it lathered into me. Well, obviously, if I had the mumps, I wasn't feeling too well. So here I was, I had my lunch of sardines. I now reeked of sardine oil because the contents of the can had been poured on me and massaged into me. Obviously, I was on this bed of blankets to keep any of the sardine oil from going into the sheets or mattress. Fanny just kind of told me to slide down a little bit and go to sleep. And that's what I did. The next morning, I woke up. I felt fine. Absolutely fine. I got up, just normal, got in the shower, started getting ready for school, and my mother walks in and goes, "What are you doing? You can't go to school." And I said, "Mom, I feel fine. I feel perfectly fine." And she looked at me, and all the swelling around my neck was gone. She couldn't believe it. And I said, I'm not joking, Mom. I really feel fine. I'll go to school. Well, my mother couldn't believe it, so she got ready, everything, hopped me in the car, and we went back to the pediatrician's office. Pediatrician examined me and said, he doesn't have mumps. He's completely recovered. He had them yesterday. He doesn't have them today. My mother was stunned. Well, she wanted me to go to school, but she wanted a note from the doctor to give to the school nurse to say that I was completely free of any disease, that I was perfectly fine. So got the note, went to school, saw the school nurse, gave the note to the school nurse, everything, and I was back in class. A little postscript to this. This story is 100% true. And if you don't believe me, Google mumps and sardines. It is a old folk remedy for mumps. But again, as Fanny said, the doctor's recommendation for me to be out of school for at least a week with the mumps was that silliness. Thank you for listening.